We played a schedule that nobody even came close to playing regarding toughness of schedule. We only lost 3 games all year. Seriously. I get it. 100% get it. And then, all right, let's get to this real quick, Dave. Where is it at? Donita Dawkins, the women's basketball committee chair, cut 13 from yesterday, Dave, on why South Carolina wasn't the top seed. Again, pop cut 13 real quick, Dave, from yesterday.
Well, there were two key factors between UCLA and South Carolina. One was the head-to-head matchup, and the other was one of our criteria, which is competitive in losses, and South Carolina suffered a 29-point loss to UConn. So those are those are the 2 key differences in those resumes.
Okay, so you lost head-to-head to UCLA, even though your overall resume is better than UCLA. Okay, if head-to-head's a thing, I get it. Now, so if you're looking at, a bad loss, I mean, again, UConn's a 2 seed, but you got whooped by UConn in your house. So we're going to use those 2. Okay, I understand them. They're legit. They're facts. Those you can't go over. Those aren't opinions. Those are real. But I guess my thing and my problem with all of this, whether it's the women's tournament committee, the men's tournament committee, the college football playoff committee, do us a favor. Give us your bleeping criteria in order of importance. How about that? What's important? Because it seems like, the rules move depending on the situations. As much as I'm a fluid guy in life and every situation is different, in this instance of putting these teams in tournaments, in playoffs, seeding them and all this other stuff, you need clear rules of, okay, here's what we look at number 1. Here's what we look at number 2. Here's what we look at number 3, number 4. Just like tiebreaker scenarios. Flipping a coin is asinine. That should never be the case unless it's option number 14,1211. You just should never, ever, 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 ever get to that point. And that's my thing with all this. Okay, committees, all of you, what is the most important thing? Is that head-to-head with UCLA and South Carolina? Is that a deal breaker or a tiebreaker? Okay, then say we look at head-to-head, and we always look for head-to-head first. When these resumes are close, we look at head-to-head first. Or do you look at quad 1 wins first? Then do you look at strength of schedule? Then do you get to head-to-head? If those two metrics are close or a tie, then do you take into the head-to-head? Because if one team's resume is clearly better, but they lost a head-to-head game on the other team's home court 3 or 4 months ago, how much should that matter? Just tell us. I say this all the time. How about a little video in the room? How about let us have a committee cam so we can hear you folks blather on about all this? A little transparency and sense would be a nice, refreshing change. So again, the women, you can hear it Friday on our sister station, 98.5 WOMG. South Carolina taking on Tennessee Tech in the first round of the NCAA tournament. That game, of course, at CLA. And again, they'll be on our sister station, 98.5 WOMG. If South Carolina wins, and they should, you will hear them Sunday on our sister station, B106 at 106.7. Maybe you just woke up. We'll let you know what's going on in the world of sports next here on the Halftime Show with David Dare. He's steering the ship. Terry Ford, Tyler Head will be back here with us soon on the game. All right, just in case you just woke up here on the game, a couple things going on. First of all, you know there's baseball tonight, 6:15 pregame, 6:30 first pitch. South Carolina College of Charleston. College of Charleston, a good look. This isn't like you're playing a bunch of slappies. This is a team that can get you. If you're not, I mean, you can't go out there with your like F game. The good news is, once again, Paul Mainieri is giving Mr. Evans the ball. This will be the third straight midweek that Evans is going to pitch. First two midweeks, Evans has been pretty good. Here's Paul Mainieri. Let's take that cut 16, Dave, talking about Evans starting another midweek game.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Jarvis will get the start tomorrow. But I did mention, that, we used a lot of guys out of our bullpen. So guys that haven't pitched much are going to have to step up. I don't expect Jarvis to go 9 innings. So we're going to have some guys that step up and do the job for us. Charleston had their game rained out yesterday. So we'll see their third starter, and they're going to have a rested bullpen. So we're going to have some things to overcome tomorrow night and really have to play a great ball game.
All right, so Evans will take the ball again tonight, see how much pen they use, see how deep Evans can go in the game. You heard Coach Mainieri talking about College of Charleston's pitching staff's rested. They had a rain out, so they'll be using their number 3 guy and a bullpen full of arms that didn't do any work. So that is tonight, 6:15 pregame, 6:30 first pitch with Derek and Stewart right here on the Game in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach at 100.3 The Game. Okay. North Carolina playing tonight in the NCAA tournament, in the play-in round, in Dayton. And as the Tar Heels take the court, of course, look, we said this. Should North Carolina be in the tournament? No. I don't think so. You can't go 1-12 against quad 1 teams and be in the NCAA tournament. Your strength of schedule to me doesn't matter if you can't beat anybody. You played a lot of tough teams. Yeah, they all kicked the snot out of you. I just don't think North Carolina should be in. West Virginia, much more worthy to be in total than North Carolina, to me, if you look at the resumes. I think playing a strong schedule should matter, but you know what? Also, I think winning some of those games should matter more than playing the tough schedule. So, West Virginia is not in. They get snubbed, sure, but look, I always say this. When you're belly aching and whining and moaning about not being Team 68, that's your problem. How many things did you screw up along the way to put yourself on that bubble? So that's really on you. You can get mad and jump it down and whine, scream and yell and hold your breath until you turn colors, but really the reason you're not in the tournament is your fault. Because your level of play put yourself on that bubble. And I get West Virginia had a huge injury with their best player. I understand that. But again, you had opportunities to win games you didn't win. So you hurt yourself. But what happens in these instances today is, you know who steps in? The politicians, Dave. It's always fun when the politicians stick their nose in this stuff. And the West Virginia governor, Patrick Morrissey, Morrissey decided, you know what? I'm just not going to take this getting screwed out of the NCAA tournament sitting down. I'm going to do something about it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask my attorney general to open up an investigation. Let's hear from West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrissey.
And we keep hearing about the importance of these quad 1 wins, but UNC couldn't even get more than 1. They also had the 25th toughest schedule in America, right behind WVU. Now here's something you may not know. UNC had representation in the room during the selection process. Let me repeat that. UNC had representation in the room during the selection process. Bubba Cunningham is the athletic director for UNC. He also happens to be the head of the tournament selection committee. Now, it's being reported by a number of outlets that Cunningham had a significant bonus incentive, at least $70,000 to get into the tournament, arguably more if they advanced, with more incentives on the way. And I want folks to let that sink in for just a minute. Of the 111 brackets that were projected pertaining to North Carolina, UNC was only in 27 of them. This stinks at the highest level. Now, when pressed on why the committee left WVU out, Bubba Cunningham, once again, the AD, the school that deprived WVU of the slot, blamed the injury on a WVU player being out, Tucker DeVries. But we know this doesn't pass the smell test, and the WVU, I believe, went 13-10 with DeVries outside the lineup, and they still had huge victories against Kansas and Iowa State. Any way you slice it, this thing reeks of corruption.
Reeks of corruption, Tyler.
Can I ask the question, how much West Virginia basketball do you think West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey has actually watched this year?
How many? I'm going to say half a game.
Probably, because that very much felt like he was just reading off of the sheet.
He was absolutely reading.
But he also got it wrong. The Bubba Cunningham was not in the room.
No.
He's the selection committee chair, but he was not in the room when North Carolina was being discussed.
He was recused.
He's recused, as you're supposed to be. Now, again, does he have influence even not being in the room?
Sure.
Absolutely. But he was incorrect on that part.
Okay, so I got a quick question.
Yeah.
You think the unemployment rate in West Virginia is 0.0?
No, it's not.
You think the West Virginia budget is, I don't know, billions of dollars to the good?
I doubt it.
Do you think the roads, schools, and infrastructure in the state of West Virginia are perfect?
No.
So
I think the coal industry's hurting a lot right now.
If I lived in the state of West Virginia and my governor is blathering on about all this, my first thought is, why don't you focus on doing something that matters?
Well, it's the same thing, when we talk about, the NIL stuff up in D.C., especially last year being an election year, like nobody's running on the NIL platform. And sure, it can be a area of concern, but the more time you spend on that is the less time you spend on the other things that are really important.
Yeah, the things that matter. And that's my thing. My thing is like, look, no offense. Patrick, Patty, Pato, Pat Boy,
Pimo,
P-Dog, why don't you just work on what really matters in my life? If I lived in West Virginia, this is not going to affect me. Oh, I can't watch West Virginia in the NCAA tournament and I get my drink on.
I was going to say, at what point does he expect the committee to go, you know what? You're right. When you really laid it all out there, Governor, we were wrong. You know what? You're going to get in. Can you make it to Dayton, Ohio in 6 hours?
Right. We're gonna tell North Carolina, who's already in the hotel, to beat it.
Sorry.
Okay.
No. We're gonna make it a triple threat. Anytime in wrestling you add someone, it's a triple threat main event.
Is that what it is?
So you get a triple threat first 4 games tonight.
Okay, there we go. Nice.
With a special guest referee.
Oh, that would be even better.
That's
Bubba Cunningham. Bubba Cunningham. You know what? I'm trying to picture being the Attorney General. And here comes the governor, bopping himself into my office. Timmy, Terry, Tony, Terry, whatever. I need you to open an investigation on what? On corruption? No. On, how to make our schools better? No. What? Or why West Virginia got screwed out of an NCAA tournament bid? I start laughing. I think you're joking. Yeah. I'm serious.
It's unacceptable. They would leave a Big East team out of the tournament. We're in the Big 12 now. Big 12,
the
whatever.
Big something.
Yeah.
Oh, look, did you get hosed? Yes.
Yeah.
But do me a favor. So many more important things in life than this, Governor.
Sometimes
go, Governor.
You just got to swallow it.
Eat it and move on.
It sucks, but you can't change it.
Because now
the more
you're
time
looking.
You spend on this, the worse you look as a governor.
Yes. Now we go from pitying you or feeling sorry for you to now looking at you like you're kind of that guy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like your buddy who keeps talking about the girl that dumped him.
Put a line in your latest speech. Take a dig at the committee. Be done with it.
Exactly. Time to move on to things that are more important to your state. All right, Firehouse Subtext, the hour 803-404-6100 is next as we cook the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Heads back from Pro Day. We're here till 3 on the game. Halftime show with Tyler Head, Terry Ford. We're going up until 3 here on the game. Get our Firehouse sub text, the hour 803-404-6100. You know what's creepy?
What's that?
Looking at Urkel host a game show.
Oh, so that's what he's doing now.
They had some show on Fox 57.
Wait, do you know what his real name is?
No. Oh, yeah. I used to. Not anymore.
It's Jaleel White.
Yeah, that guy. He's Urkel.
Yeah.
His driver's license should say Urkel.
He and Daniel Radcliffe, the ultimate typecast.
Oh, no doubt.
They're that one character forever.
Oh, they can't fix it, can't change it. And Daniel Radcliffe just tried to do theater
he's
and
done a whole
movies
bunch of stuff and comedy and nah, you're Harry Potter.
Yeah, you're always going to be Harry Potter. I hope you made a lot of money.
He did.
He did.
But in terms of being taken seriously in any other role, nah.
It's like a Screech from
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, he tried as well.
That didn't go well. Poor guy.
Rainn Wilson from The Office, always going to be seen as Dwight.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, just some guy. That means your character was iconic.
Right.
But man, you got a tough time being seen as anything else.
The good news is you played an iconic character, and everyone knows who you are. Here's the flip side. Your career's over.
Yeah.
Career's done.
Sorry, I can't take you seriously in a romantic drama
Right.
as the lead. You know what I mean?
Or you're playing a grizzled investigator in some kind of murder mystery. No, you're Urkel.
Yeah. Doesn't work.
I looked up and I'm like, he's hosting a game show.
There is a movie. It was a kids movie called Big Fat Liar with Paul Giamatti, and in the movie he's a movie producer, and he cast Jaleel White in a movie where he's supposed to be playing some cool guy, and he keeps calling him Urkel. He's like, "No, my name is Jaleel." Okay, Urkel. Anyways,
But it's true. I look up. I go, Urkel's hosting a game show. I can't take him seriously.
you know what I just noticed, by the way? I didn't take my credential off
Are
in the
you
car.
wearing your credential?
Flex on. I think I did this last year too, where I just forgot, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm still
You're still credentialed. It'd be funny if you get home later and you're just sitting around the house. You look down and you go, "I've had this stupid credential on all day."
gotta let people know, man."
Yeah, mine comes off as soon as I get in the car. But I leave them hanging off my rearview mirror. I have SEC Media Days hanging there. My Darlington one.
I got a whole little thing on my wall in our extra room that's just nothing but credentials.
That's funny. That's why my kids go. You can always find your car. It's got the SEC Media Days and the Pro Days and the Darlington, all the press
you
media
never
credentials.
know when you're going to need access somewhere.
And you can slap it on and walk in like you're credentialed.
That's right.
Absolutely. I already got there on the old Firehouse sub text of the hour.
So Eric from Blythewood sent us CBS's bracketology, which apparently still has West Virginia in and UNC out, but I'm looking at it. It was not updated after the actual bracket came out. So I guess out of spite, they're just keeping West Virginia in.
Way to go, CBS.
Not a
Die
film.
on that hill. Die on that hill. The CBS guys went sideways, like Jerry Palm and those guys.
Yeah. And listen, they're not wrong.
No, they're right.
This is very, very controversial, and there's going to be a lot of San Diego State Aztecs fans tonight.
Oh, no. Honestly, anyone that isn't an alum of North Carolina or from Chapel Hill or is a Tar Heel fan from the state of North Carolina, you go outside of that, everyone's a San Diego State fan.
I guess we got to be careful. Our
Grand Poobah is a graduate.
Our woman in charge here is
Yes,
a
she
UNC
is.
alum.
She was funny. I haven't a chance to really talk to her about it because I was not talking about it to her on purpose.
Yeah.
And someone else brought up North Carolina tournament. She was like, "Now, I don't want to hear about this whole thing about not deserving to get in and Bubba did something to get us in." That
She knows
stuff.
him on a first name basis.
Oh, she knows Bubba. Absolutely. So, yeah. Anyway, we're not bringing that up to her. All right. Football, more football with some Shane Beamer stuff and Pro Day information come up next here on the Halftime Show. halftime show as we kick into the 1 o'clock hour. It means football, football, nothing but football, football, and football. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We have to roll out some teams. We didn't get
Yes,
to that
we do.
last hour.
Oh,
We got to
that's
get to
right.
that.
We do.
So we're going to just, we'll just give out the 4. We'll give out last hours and this hours, Tyler. Let's just do it.
Okay, so caller 68 and then
And 68.
And
We'll do it twice this hour.
Okay, yeah, that's
Make
fine.
it easier.
That's fine.
So we'll be doing that in just a minute. What we're doing is we're doing our bracket contest again this year. The last couple of years, we had folks come out to Twin Peaks and get teams.
We got to see the disappointment on their face when they drew
Yeah.
like a 15 seed.
When you get Robert Morris, we wanted to, see you cry uncontrollably. But because,
By the way, don't call now.
Not
It's
yet.
not live yet.
not yet. We'll do it in a few minutes. But the thing was, it wasn't fair to folks in Myrtle Beach and folks in Florence.
Sure.
So to make it fair and open it up to everyone, we're going to do it on the phone this year. And we're going to mix it up. We'll do the first one on the phone and the second one on the text line.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
That works.
All right. So let's just get it out of the way now because we'll
do
both
it.
forget. Caller number 6 and caller number 8, you will each get a team
Yes.
at 803-404-6100. Whoever has the team that wins the NCAA championship will get tickets for the rest of the South Carolina Gamecock baseball schedule. You'll get basically season tickets for the rest of the year, starting in April, when we find out the champion.
Yes.
803-404-6100, caller number 6, caller number 8. Give us a ring right now, and you will be each getting a team.
Just confirming you did not do any last hour.
No, we did not.
Just make sure I'm giving away the right teams.
You're giving away last
Okay.
hour's teams.
All right. I will take care of that. Yes, now
Thank you,
may
sir.
call.
Now you may call. All right. So USC Pro Day going on. Tyler just came back from South Carolina Pro Day. Again, some obviously guys are doing the same stuff you do at the combine. You're just doing it, at your facility. And we've heard about some 40 times. We talked about that in the beginning of the show. Like Juju McDowell supposedly burned a sub 4.3, and I'm not saying it didn't happen. It's unofficial time. I won't lie. That's surprising. I mean, I think Juju's very quick. He's fast to a point, but sub 4.3 fast, that does surprise me. And honestly, this isn't to be mean. You see how quick and shifty he is when he plays, but I never saw that kind of straight line speed from Juju McDowell. But if he popped a sub 4.340, God love you. Good for you. That'll only help you. And Juju McDowell, now that the NFL is trying to bring the return back in the game, Juju McDowell will have an opportunity to try to stick with an NFL team as a return man. I think as a running back, he's interesting because he is quick and shifty and can catch the ball. But again, there's not you get a hand on him. He's a little dude. You get hands upon him. He's not a yak yard guy. And he's not a big make you miss guy once you get on him. So I don't know how much he could translate into even like a third down back in the NFL, but I think Juju could be a return man. But, his 40 time was supposed to be excellent. Also, Delvon Campbell, sub 4.4. And again, it's unofficial. And Campbell with that size, if you're running that fast in the 40 at that size, I think that's kind of a 6th, 7th round. A team might take a flyer on you because you're that fast and that big. Now your production didn't your production didn't measure or didn't come. What's the word I'm looking for? Your production didn't match. That's the word I wanted. Match your physical measurables. But a team, Mike, as teams do this. Hey, you see how fast he is? See how big he is? We can make him a wide receiver, gosh darn it. And they'll draft him late in the draft as a project. Probably start on a practice squad, maybe work his way on special teams, and maybe, just maybe, if he can develop as a wide receiver, learn to be more consistent with the route tree and things of that nature, learn how to get open, learn how to read defenses, then maybe he could move himself into a role as a wide receiver. But that's the kind of thing with a guy who's big and fast, but his production doesn't match the big and the fast. So we'll see. But there was some interesting 40 times today over at Pro Day. Of course, Nick Immanwori didn't run. I don't believe Demetrius Knight. I don't think Demetrius Knight should run. Knight did really well running the 40 at the combine. Obviously, Eamon did too. You have nothing to prove now with the 40 time. Now you're going to do the position drills, but you're not going to do a 40.
Yeah, the only guys I remember seeing run the 40, Campbell, OD, Juju, Rashawn, most of the linemen. Yeah, I didn't see.
What Fortune run? I didn't see that.
I didn't see what his time was. It's very hard to gauge. You can see guys that are faster than others, but when you're sitting 100, 200 feet away and I don't have a clock, it's kind of hard.
Wait a
to
minute, you don't have a
gauge.
stopwatch?
I don't have a stopwatch.
You didn't carry a stopwatch.
I got Yuva's unofficial times, which we
Yuva
take with a
time.
grain of salt.
Yuva time. Well, with Fortune, he's a guy that's going to be, I think, a third day guy. He'll get picked, I think, in day 3. And look, being a day 3 pick, look, everybody wants to be a first rounder or a premium round pick or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you get picked, there's a lot of third day guys who turn into quite nice NFL players who have good careers.
I mean, look at Marcellus Dial, literally out of the same defensive back room that has found his way on the field with the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, you can do just fine being a day 3 pick. And so if Fortune does get picked on day 3, look, he had a nice year in 2024. Fortune's coverage grades were good. If you watched the games, you saw he did a nice job in coverage. Look, that entire defensive backfield got helped with the idea that the pass rush was phenomenal.
Yeah, we're not having to chase receivers around for 30 seconds.
It's just like the year before, those guys struggled in coverage, and part of it was they were covering dudes for like 27 seconds. Last year, they were covering dudes for 0.27 seconds.
Makes a difference.
That pass rush was insane. But that's not to take anything away from Fortune or Eamon Warry or Kilgore or Collier or Smith or any of those guys in the back end. There was improvement in coverage. There was. But they also got help with the pass rush. But I think Fortune he'll have a shot. He's going to make a team, probably have to play teams in the beginning. See if he can get on the field in some kind of nickel dime packages, things of that nature. But I do think Fortune, I think a third day, he'll be drafted on the third day and he'll get an opportunity. But would like to know what he ran just out of curiosity.
Fast.
Maybe.
I mean, we'll have a Yuva back in here.
You know what we ought to do? We ought to take the Yuva time and time Yuva.
Sure.
See how it goes.
Well, hey, he was a, D2, D3 defensive back, whatever.
Played D2, D3, yeah.
Yeah, it was D2, right?
I believe. See what that 40 times, like what Yuva's like in his late 20s now?
Should have got him out there in positional drills.
Get him out there, man. See how those hips still move.
Yeah, he looked like he could still go.
Yeah. Probably, well, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to stop now. All right. So Pro Day was today. A bunch of guys are going to get drafted. We talked about it when you were still out there. I mean, we focus on the top 4 guys who are going to go in the first 4 rounds, but there are going to be guys taken after that. So let's just add up real quick, Tyler, if you think. All right, obviously, Eamon Warry, Sanders, Kennard, Knight. Those 4 are going in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Maybe the first 3. After that, you think about the defense. I think Hemingway gets drafted sometime on the 3rd day. He's a tweener, but I think the 3rd day, somewhere between rounds 5 and 7, I could see Hemingway going.
Sure.
Maybe Bam Martin Scott in the 6th or 7th round, possibly 7th round, maybe. I don't. I'll be honest. I don't. Huntley, late 3rd day, maybe. Just like Debo, maybe late 3rd day. But if those guys are undrafted free agents, again, you can pick and choose where you go, which is sometimes an advantage.
Again, it all kind of boils down to what team's looking for at that point in time, what spots in the roster they're trying to fill out. So you can have a guy that's graded to be a 6 or 7 round pick that doesn't get drafted because just, hey, nobody's really looking for that spot at that point in time.
And a lot of times teams start drafting measurables.
Yeah.
And that's where, like a Campbell, if he really ran that well to go at that size, a team might go in the 7th round of the draft. Yeah, we'll take the big fast guy from South Carolina.
Sure.
Didn't do a whole lot on the field, but we'll make him a wide receiver.
Right.
Or, a guy like Debo, guy's playing with his hair on fire. We got to make this, and this better about him. Size-wise, we wish he was bigger, but you know what? He might be a special teams demon.
Sure.
And if he turns into something, fine. It's about measurables. Or a guy who's really skilled but isn't that big. Like, just go back to Juju
Because
McDowell.
again, being a late round draft pick doesn't guarantee you're going to make the team.
No, it's
just like being an undrafted free agent.
right. It doesn't guarantee. Like, let's say Juju McDowell, for an example, caught a lot of balls at South Carolina, but really small, but quick. If he was productive or more productive, and I'm not saying that's all Juju's fault. I think sometimes the offenses here didn't really showcase him correctly at times, to be fair.
They did play a lot of special teams.
And he played special teams. I could see someone go, you know what? Guy played teams. He was a return man, caught a ton of balls out of the backfield. We'll take him in the 7th round, even though he's small, because he was productive.
Yep.
That's the kind of stuff. And so, when defensive line truly, like Alex Huntley, Boogie Huntley, if you just look at numbers, you go, eh. But there's so much more to playing that position. There's occupying blockers. There's doing things that don't show up in a stat sheet. Maybe there's a team that would value Alex Huntley late in the draft. Like, I think Tonka's biggest problem is a tweener. He's not big enough to be the interior defensive tackle, and he's not twitchy enough to be an edge rusher, right?
Yep.
But he can move in and play both. So if there's a team that values his versatility late in the draft, they'll go, he's a tweener, we'll take him. Or maybe, you know what? We like what he does on the outside more than the inside. Maybe we've got something we do on defense that he could help us.
Sure.
That kind of stuff. That's why it's such an unknown. We know 4 guys are going to go. I think Simpkins gets drafted because I think he's a 3rd-day guy. But there's a team that's going to take Simpkins. You can see Simpkins starting the NFL and not be surprised.
Sure.
Josh Simon. I can see Josh Simon being a 3rd-day pick and hanging around the NFL because he'll be a pass-catching tight end for a team where his skill set fits what they do on offense. I can see Simon doing that because he's an athletic, big athletic guy. So those are the kind of unknowns that the 3rd day in the draft will bring. That's why I think there's going to be South Carolina, I think, will be well represented the 3rd day in the draft with certain guys who get picked. But the top 4 will definitely be gone by the 4th round or maybe the 3rd round. But very interesting day. Clayton White said he thought all 32 teams were there.
It looked like it.
Yeah, and plus some CFL teams.
Yeah, CFL. I imagine there were probably some. What is the USFL now, right? I imagine there were probably some scouts from that too, because there's another option.
Well, Vince McMahon was there from the XFL.
Well, Vince McMahon's not over anything anymore. He was actually at the Knicks game last night. Funny enough.
That is interesting.
But no, and I know we kind of crap on the spring league stuff, but that is an opportunity for these guys to play professional football and get themselves in position, if they don't out of college, to play at the next level.
Absolutely. And there are guys who leave those spring leagues and get themselves back in the NFL.
They do.
And the CFL, Elijah correctly identified scouts from the Saskatchewan Roughriders
Okay.
from the CFL.
And the notable scouts of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
And by the way, for fun, we did the mileage. We're doing kilometers.
Yeah.
It's basically a 33-hour trip. 3,200 kilometers from Saskatchewan to Columbia, South Carolina.
I would think they would fly, right?
Nope, they drove.
They drove.
Just made that up. But that flight must be good, depending on what kind of dough they want to put into the plane. How many layovers do you think you get from Saskatchewan to Columbia?
Oh, it's good. That's a good point. I don't know. You think all the CFL coaches just got on one flight
Together. Even
Winnipeg
funnier,
Blue Bombers.
they got in a minivan and drove. They met at the U.S. Canadian border and jumped in a minivan.
Isn't Mark Trestman back in the CFL now?
Might be. CFL genius.
That was his whole thing. Is we won the Grey Cup and
Won
he's
some
gonna-
Grey Cups
He's going
in
to
the
change the
CFL.
Bears. Well,
Yep.
that didn't work out.
This offensive genius is going to flip the Bears upside down. Yeah, he did. He flipped them upside down.
He did. Did he realize they played different
Yeah.
football down here?
It's like, wow, wait a minute. You don't have that 1 point thing? You don't?
Why are the goalposts outside the end zone?
How many downs do you get here? My guy can't start running from the parking lot. There's this thing called motion. Interesting. All right, so USC Pro Day going on today over at the Spurrier Complex. All righty, football in the 1 o'clock hour. Shane Beamer talking to the media yesterday, getting you ready for spring practice. We'll get some Shane on next here on the halftime show on the game. All right, we talk nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the Game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head as we hang till 3 here on the Game. All right, so Shane Beamer talking to the media yesterday to open up spring practice, which will kick in tomorrow. Shane talked about a bunch of different things, many different topics. What we want to get to is, first of all, what is the focus of the spring? Because it's kind of important to find out what the head coach and the coaching staff is focusing on for spring 2025. Hit it, Tyler.
Yeah, I think before you get into like personnel, it's making sure that all of our players, whether it's returning players or whether it's new players, they understand that 2024 didn't just happen. Like there was a lot of work that went into the 2024 season on and off the field. So understanding that we got to be even that much more intentional in 2025 to have the year that we all want to have. And then really it's just, there's just so many new faces. We lost a lot of veteran guys, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. And they were all down in the training room before I walked out on the field a little bit ago. And you're just reminded like how many guys that have played a lot of football. Tonka was down there and Brashawn was down there and Rocket Sanders is down there and Bam Scott. I mean, that's a lot of guys that have been here for a while that are now gone. And we're talented. There's no question about it, but we're young and we have to develop leadership and we have to develop, who's this rotation? What's this rotation going to look like? It's exciting because there's so many competitive battles going on at a lot of different positions. David brought up the specialist, but you could say that about every position on our offense and defense. There's multiple battles going on for roles, and that's what I'm excited to see as we get out there.
Yeah, I mean, this thing we've been looking at. I mean, you're a preseason top 10, top 15 team in the way too early top 25s everywhere, and that's fantastic.
Sure.
It's great to have that positive spotlight put on your program, but you had 37 seniors. You got a lot of people to replace. And it's going to have to come from whether it's transfer portal or it's dudes you already have in the program. This is about development. You're not bringing in very ready-made guys who are going to step right in and, be productive, and they have a resume of production. You just don't have that with this team.
And that's going to be the tricky part about navigating through the spring, through the summer, and through the fall camp leading up the season is I don't think we're going to get a lot of answers to those questions because, again, it's one thing to show out in spring practice and one thing to be the leader at fall camp, but you actually have to see the results on the field. And, again, we kind of had a good gauge for guys like Demetrius Knight, for guys like Kyle Kennard, because they had been productive at their previous stops over the course of a couple of years. We obviously took that to another level when they got here to South Carolina, but you just kind of had a baseline of what they were capable of. For a lot of these guys, particularly on defense, you don't really have that.
No, and we were yipping about it. First riff of the show was you got competition everywhere on this football team. And, there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, there's a lot of potential, a lot of high ceiling, a lot of ability, but it's got to turn into making plays. And a lot's expected of this football team. The expectations, it hasn't been this high around here like this in a long time.
Well, and again, they're going to be on all these lists and rankings and stuff before the season starts. But as we get closer to the start of the year, when like the first AP poll comes out or something like that, and, if Carolina's in like the 20s, and, you're upset about that. How could they put South Carolina in the 20s? Because they're losing most of their key contributors from a year ago. Again, not saying they can't be a good team this year, but you have to bake in the value of what those guys gave to this team a year ago that aren't going to be there anymore. And,
the expectation thing gets ramped up even more because you have this thing called the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And you were so close to it last year. And so the expectation is, well, you were close to it last year. You got the quarterback coming back. You got an edge pass rusher coming back. Everybody thinks they're all that. So go get in the playoff. You're close. Now go get in. And we'll see how this plays itself out. Again, you have a lot of ability, but you need a really good amount of dudes to turn their ability into production.
Sure. And look, all these guys could be stars.
Yeah.
All these guys could end up being amazing. We're talking about more of them getting drafted in the next couple of years, or some of them could end up not being as good as we thought. Again, that's a possibility as well, that you do have to weigh the pros and cons of both sides. And again, it's going to be we're 100 some odd days away from kickoff at this point, more than that. you just got to wait and see.
All right. Also, there was a lot of leaders on this football team that are gone. Whether it's guys who have been here for multiple years, like an Alex Huntley, or, like our guy Knight or our guy Kennard, who came in and just kind of.
I parked next to Knight's minivan in the parking lot today.
Did you?
Yeah, it's got the little stick family on the back of it. Yeah, just like you think.
Those guys became leaders after they got here last year. But you got to find new ones. Guys have to step up in leadership roles. Or guys who might have had minor leadership roles now have to increase their leadership roles on this year's team. Here's Shane, cut 9, figuring out the new leaders.
Yeah, that'll be a work in progress for sure, but no, it's huge. If you, I don't think people talk about that enough. One of the reasons, if you go back to last year at this time, and I think I've said this to you guys before, but I felt a lot better about the 2024 team at this time last year than probably anybody outside our building did because of the amount of leadership that we brought back, guys that were invested and cared and had the respect of the players on this team. We lost so much of that last year at this time. You guys know we vote on captaincy at the end of the season. I think it was something like 6 of our top 9 vote getters for captain off the 2023 team were coming back in 2024. Now I think 1 of our top 9 is coming back, or 1 of our top 8, and that's Lenoris as well. So if you look at it defensively, there's a big void in leadership, and who are those guys going to be? And you can't just make it happen. You can't say, okay, Nick Barrett, you've been around here 4 years now, it's time to be the leader, or 5 years, or whatever it is, or Jalen Kilgore, or DQ Smith, or Judge Collier. I mean, there's guys, and they're embracing those roles, but it's just kind of, you got to let it happen, and certainly you got to be intentional about putting them in positions to lead, and we've tried to do that with some of the stuff that we've done in the weight room for sure, and putting guys in leadership roles to learn to embrace that. But it'll be a work in progress, certainly over the spring and over the summer, preseason camp throughout the season. It was about this time last year we do what we did Thursday, a week ago Thursday, when before spring break, but what we call Grit Night, and that was the first night I remember last year that I heard Demetrius Knight really address the team, and I remember thinking, holy smokes, like, this guy's different with the voice that he has and the way that he's able to talk to the players and the way they listen. And I walked out of there saying, all right, this guy's going to be a leader for us. And that was, like I said, March last year. So it'll continue to happen, but that's a big challenge for us. We've got the right guys, but big opportunities for them stepping into those roles.
And I know a lot of people eye roll when you talk about leadership and culture, and they go, yeah, whatever, man. But it's important.
You ever played on a team without a leader?
Bad teams.
Exactly.
Teams that stink.
Yeah. Well, when you have, and look, having a leader doesn't mean you're going to be a good team, but if you don't have leaders, you're probably going to be pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean,
you don't have somebody that you can turn to that's kind of the guiding voice that kind of rallies everybody around them. You're probably not going to be very good.
Your best teams have player leadership. They just do. I mean, coaches are, to a point, setting culture, but the really good teams, the coach sets a culture. You know who carries the culture?
The players.
Players.
Well, like you said, you can't just point at somebody and say, hey, you've been here for 5 years, you're the leader now. Like, no, it doesn't happen that way.
No. Hey, Barrett, you've been here since like 2004. Time to buck up and be a leader, dude. No,
Sure.
It doesn't work that way.
Look, everybody has different leadership styles.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys are very loud. Some guys kind of command a room. Other guys lead by example. You have to, as a coach, this is the time of year, like you said, Grit Night or whatever it is, you got to figure that stuff out. Saying, okay, who are we kind of looking towards to be the leaders on this team?
And it is funny. A weight room does kind of, it's not everything, but you'll see in a weight room sometimes that kind of stuff break out. Like the dude who is like the weight room is such a thing. And if you've never been in a weight room in that kind of situation, you don't understand it. But the weight room is a whole different animal when you have a bunch of like players together and all that testosterone, and all of a sudden, even dudes who don't really care about lifting, all of a sudden, for a minute, care about lifting. It's pretty funny. I mean, I could bench the bar at least 3 times. All right, more football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the Game. We just yap nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. Tyler Head's hanging out here. Terry Ford. We sent Dave home. He came in early. Sent him home.
He's got to get ready for his big day tomorrow.
He's got a huge day tomorrow. No, it's Thursday.
It's a big day.
Thursday's his big day.
It always is.
He's got an appointment. He's got a date.
You might think so.
So, Dave, we're giving him time to relax, plan, get ready for his big day here in a couple.
Gotta get some good rest, you know.
Eat right.
Yeah.
Make sure he has a shiny coat.
Like your dad always told you as a kid. Get some rest. Big day tomorrow.
Big day tomorrow. Hey, did you hear about this? Because this is wild. Dan Mullen's the new head coach at UNLV.
Correct.
Dan Mullen signed what I believe was a 5-year deal at UNLV. Ran across this story. Believe it or not, the first place I saw it was on the 107.5 The Game website.
Good place.
Because I was checking to make sure the video stream was working on the website. You can go to our website and click on watch the video stream on our website if you want to.
Right.
So I saw this story because we run a feed of college football stories.
Yep.
UNLV Athletic Director Eric Harper told the school's Board of Regents last week that his department does not have enough funds to cover the final 3 years of football coach Dan Mullen's contract. That's according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the local newspaper. Mullen signed a 5-year, $17.5 million deal in December, and he's starting his first year with the Running Rebs. However, at a meeting last Friday, the AD Harper told Regents that the athletic department is $26 to $31 million in debt
Okay.
and could handle only the cost of the first 2 years of Mullen's contract as things stand now.
Imagine there's a lawyer getting involved here at some point.
You think? And here's the thing, ready? We're good for the first 2 years, but after that, I don't know what we're going to do. So, to read more of this, because this is fascinating.
Yeah.
When pressed by one of the regents about how the department planned to pay for the remaining 3 years, Harper said, buy a lottery ticket. I made that up. I thought that would be good. That'd be funny if you said it. Harper said he hopes to raise money through donations and increase revenue from football games while also seeking additional funding from donors.
Is this a ploy?
I don't know.
Now, I don't doubt that they're probably in debt. Are they maybe exaggerating how much debt they're in? Are they exaggerating that, you know what, they might have the ability to do like 3 or 4 years, but like, oh, no, we only got enough for 2.
We only do 2.
To try and generate like, oh, crap, if we want to hang on to Dan Mullen, we better start ponying up now.
I was getting ready to say, if you see what his plan is, and you hit it on the head, ready? Here's the plan. Donations, funding from donors, increased revenue because they have jacked the ticket prices. So if you're jacking your ticket prices, right?
Yep.
Got to pay the coach. Donors, hey, we got to pay the coach. Especially Dan Mullen has been successful.
Yeah, again, Dan Mullen's had success in the SEC. He's won national championships as a coordinator. He had the first #1 overall team in the history of the college football playoff era back in 2014. He comes with a resume.
Dan Mullen will win at UNLV.
Yeah, very
If
likely
given the
so.
resources, Dan Mullen will win.
Because here's the thing, Dan Mullen had a good gig at ESPN. He was only going to come off of the desk for something that he knew he could win at, where the pressure would not be as high. UNLV was perfect.
And let's throw this out. I'm sure Dan probably, and I'm just guessing, hey, UNLV, I appreciate you guys hitting me up to see if I want to get back into head coaching. I know you guys had a good couple years of Barry Odom. You got money to finance a winning program moving forward. Remember, Matt Skura was the quarterback who said he didn't get paid his NIL at UNLV last year.
Yep.
So if I'm Dan Mullen, I'm saying, you got the money to run a successful program? And, of course, they went, yeah, Dan. How could you ask? Of course we do.
By the way, this is supposed $30 million of debt didn't just happen in the past month.
Nobody just all of a sudden, like you talk about your wife doesn't look at her bank account for like a month or two.
Yeah, which drives me crazy.
I don't think Eric Harper, the athletic director at UNLV, hadn't looked at the finances for a month or two.
He finally checked his mail for the first time since July. Like, oh man, we're in debt.
Ready? Oh my God, we're $31 million in debt.
Yeah,
Anybody know that?
You're very well aware of that.
I feel like this could be a way, and not to say they're not in debt,
I'm sure they're in debt.
but you need to, not only pay your head coach, and look, you wouldn't hire a guy if you couldn't pay him. Come on. But if you want to give him the resources to have a football program, like maybe you told him you have the resources, maybe your mouth wrote a check that you now need to go cash.
And there's no Mullen statement on this, right?
Nothing
Because
yet.
by the way, if I'm the head coach and I hear this and it's 100% true, I'm gone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well,
we're not playing this game.
I'm like you. There's a couple of phone calls I make. You know my first phone call?
Lawyer.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm going to get some money out of you. Mm-hmm. We're not going to play this. Well, we got 2 years for you, and here's a coupon to Arby's for year number 3.
Can we pay you in sweet deals?
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Let's see. It says here that they're increasing the single game ticket prices, suite rentals, and they're going to have new VIP ticket holders. UNLV is getting $2.5 million revenue from football season ticket sales ahead of next season, and an increase from $1.8 million at the same time last year. Again, Dan Mullen, you've had 2 really good seasons in a row. Dan Mullen is a name head coach, so yeah, you should be able to make some more dough on donors and ticket sales. Also, UNLV is going to receive between $19 and $24.5 million from the Mountain West for agreeing to stay in the conference. All right, so I feel like this is a crew who needs to get as much money as possible. And if you say, well, we can't pay the coach, you think, what, desperation will get you more money?
You would think.
It's a very weird story that I just think the conspiracy theorist in me thinks there's something here.
And look, if you had just hired a coach from FCS or somebody that doesn't really have a lot of cachet and name recognition, then you're probably not doing this. But again, you've got a coach that's had success in the SEC. That's a name that, again, it's been on people's televisions for the past couple of years. Talking college football, people know who Dan Mullen is. If you're a fringe, if you're a UNLV alum and maybe you're a casual football watcher, you're like, oh, hey, Dan Mullen, he's pretty good. Yeah, I'll invest.
This guy's going to win us a lot of games.
Yeah.
I like this guy. We're doing another football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Wow, the NCAA, common sense. The NCAA has agreed to permanently drop its rule prohibiting athletes from negotiating their name, image, and likeness payments until after they enroll in school.
I thought they'd already dropped that.
Not yet. Remember, that was part of the problem like Rashada. Remember the Jaden Rashada thing?
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, we're going to give you $70 billion. Come play football in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't negotiate that till you get on campus.
Got to wait till you get on campus.
Well, guess what? You're limiting my earning potential because I can't shop around and see what I'm worth.
Yep.
You know what that violates?
And I trust.
And I trust. As with everything.
Yep. So now the NCAA has decided that you can negotiate the terms of NIL before you enroll, which just makes sense. Why am I coming to your school unless I know in writing you're giving me this much money? Don't just tell me, don't promise me, don't say sure, no problem, no handshake deal, none of that stuff.
And the NCAA wants us to pretend like this hasn't been happening already. They're like, oh, thank God you guys finally changed the rule. Like, no.
Well, you've got to. You've got to. The Rashada thing brought out the dirty laundry of what happens if you don't.
Sure.
Because then all of a sudden, a guy promised millions and millions of dollars. Hey, we got $42.12, but we do also can get you a car.
Yeah.
What kind of car? It's 79 Pinto.
We can get you half off your next meal at the local Bojangles. Half off.
Think about that.
Now, that is priceless.
So, finally, some common sense. And again, this is like you said. Probably somewhere in this whole thing, you're breaking antitrust laws. That's all the NCAA does is break antitrust laws.
Yeah.
All right, let's give away 2 more teams right now. 803-404-6100. Text line this time?
Sure.
All right, 803-404-6100.
The 6th and 8th text.
6th and 8th text gets a team.
Just send me your name.
Send the name and
We'll go
email
from there.
address. We need name and email address.
Yep.
And you're in. All right, Firehouse Sub Text of the Hour, 803-404-6100 is coming up next as we talk football in the halftime show on the Game. 803-404-6100. Time to get our Firehouse Sub text of the hour. So we're done. We got our teams. We're caught up.
Yes, we are all caught up. So
Nice.
thanks for texting in. Let's see. We gave away St. John's and Omaha just then to Andy and Chris.
Okay, and the ones before were
Arkansas and Kansas.
Kansas underachiever this year. Preseason number 1, underachiever. Arkansas underachiever.
Yeah, that's St. John's. That's
St. John's is not a bad
that's
one.
a good one.
Not a bad one.
By the way, and I heard Bill and Preston bring this up. You know who else turned down an NIT invitation last year?
St. John's.
St. John's.
Look what they did this year.
Look at them now.
We got an interesting story in the 2 o'clock hour about South Alabama.
Yeah, I heard about that.
This is going really well for the folks in the NIT.
Classic double booking, right?
Yeah. We're just going to invite a bunch of people and see if anybody will show up.
Look, we've all had those things. Maybe it's a birthday party. You know what? Just mass invite. Goes out to everyone. And then you're like, oh, shouldn't have sent it to that person.
Ready? They're all actually showing up.
Oh, no. I was expecting like 10 of you. There's 50.
We don't have enough cake.
I have a 1-bedroom apartment. You're not going to fit.
All right, what do we got here? 803-404-6100 Firehouse subtext the hour.
Going back to our conversation last hour about typecast actors, Jeff says Daniel Radcliffe is really good in that comedy series they've been doing. He's on some show.
Yeah, what
on
is
like
it?
TBS or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember it now. I saw this here recently.
And look,
No,
I don't doubt his ability to be funny,
Yeah.
but I can't not look at him as Harry Potter.
He's Harry
right?
Potter. I mean, Rainn Wilson's hilarious.
Oh, he's great.
He's always Dwight.
He's done plenty of things since The Office ended, but he's Dwight.
He's
And
Dwight.
I feel bad for him because anytime he gets interviewed for something, he was on some show, I think like a fantasy football show, and they ended up talking about The Office more than fantasy football. I'm like, this dude just wants to talk about fantasy football, or hey, he's a Seahawks fan, like the Seahawks or something like that. Like, I feel bad for him.
He comes home, man, it's going to be really cool. I get to talk about my Seahawks. So, dude, when you were Dwight, what was it like to be Dwight?
So did you have to actually cut your hair like that?
So, yeah, I mean, but there are certain, like, for an example, I can't think of his name now. Michael Kramer is always going to be Kramer.
Kramer's always going to be Kramer. Jason Alexander's always going to be Costanza.
Always.
And he's done plenty of things since then. Like, oh, that's George.
And he's a guy who was a Broadway actor, a singer.
Oh, I'm sure he's got a great resume.
He's always going to be known as George Costanza.
You're Jerry's goofy friend that has terrible luck with women.
Right. And Jerry Seinfeld's always going to be Jerry Seinfeld no matter what.
Like the woman that plays Elaine. She's always Elaine. Like she was in Christmas Vacation, where she plays the very mean neighbor to the Griswolds. I'm like, yeah, it's Elaine.
You know, it's funny. She was on a show called Veep on HBO, and she was up for like Emmy Awards and everything. But you looked at her, and you're like, well, it's Elaine playing another character.
Yeah. She dances really badly.
Yeah, I mean, she's another very, very funny. I had another one in my head, and I lost it. Oh, like the cast of Friends.
Oh, yeah. The entire show.
Cast of Friends. They're all going to be... And Matt LeBlanc, Joey, actually played Matt LeBlanc on some TV series on HBO.
About like his life
It
being
was
Joey for
hilarious.
Friends. Yeah.
It's just hilarious.
Didn't Joey get a spinoff too?
Yeah, it lasted for like 2 episodes.
Because it was like awful and it wasn't actually his same character.
It was not good. Not good. I watched like a few episodes. I'm like, this is terrible. The spinoffs, they were like Frasier was a spinoff of Cheers.
Yep.
That's another guy. Kelsey
Very
Grammer's
rarely
always
do
going to be
they work.
Frasier.
Yep.
All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions, coming up here on The Game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. It's a halftime show. Oh, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions, of course. We're doing our over-under contest, sponsored by our folks at Gamecock Traditions. This week, the over-under, okay, you have the top 16 seeds of the NCAA tournament. How many of those top 16 seeds will make it to the Sweet 16? The over-under is 11.5.
What did we run the numbers on this last year? Mm-hmm. What was it? It was like, what was the numbers on average on that?
Oh, was it 10?
8, 10, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere. So I would take the under. That's just me. But hey, it could be a year where chalk is more chalkier than usual. But the over-under, 11.5. Just go to 1075thegame.com, see the contest, click, put in your over-under, get your info in there. And if you do get it right, you'll be put in the pot of folks who got it correct, and you could win yourself a Gamecock Traditions gift card. While we're at it, oh, geez, what is it? Let's see, 11 days, roughly, right, until our Spring Golf Classic at Charwood.
That's right. 10 days.
10 days?
Be the 28th, the next Wednesday, or excuse me, Friday.
Yep. 803-755-2000. You can call over Charwood, set up your foursome. This year, we have got the golf ball cannon is back.
That's what you're most excited about.
I love that thing, man. I can just sit there and shoot golf balls out of a cannon all day. And all the proceeds go to Camp Discovery. And, you know, and that's one of those nonprofits. They do really good work when it comes to kids and being able to get them outside and, you know, nature and science and all those things. And they're not some, you know, fancy crew with hundreds of people working for them. So, you know, it really helps out Camp Discovery. So we're really, really excited to help out those folks. Also, we'll have basketball and football season tickets to give away. Special guest, or one of our special guests, Hall of Famer, former Gamecock great Alex English will be hanging as well. That's just part of what's going on. We'll have food and food and food.
Well, you wouldn't show up if we didn't.
Yeah, that's why that and the golf gun.
I saw you head down to the little breakfast buffet they had at Pro Day this morning.
I want to sample the food.
I got to talk to Fink, who's conveniently down there.
Hey, look, there's Steve Fink by the food. Go hang out with Steve Fink. I want to test the food to make sure it's good for all the athletes. That's why, you know, I'm there to help.
I don't think the athletes are eating that food.
No, they're not. Fink's funny.
I don't think biscuits and gravy would be good before running the 40.
Right before running the 40? He didn't run the 40 much. Did you see that, how far he projectile vomited? That guy might be a keeper. We've all done that before where we've eaten something we shouldn't have eaten, and then we decide we're going to go run around and do some kind of athletic activity, and it doesn't end well. So
back when I was in high school, I went to something called a career academy, and we got out like 30 minutes before the high school got out. I was right next door. So I had a little bit of time between when that school ended and when high school got out. And on days for wrestling matches, I'd go get some food because we didn't have to leave till like 4 o'clock anyway or whatever. And there was a McDonald's right up the street. And we, unlike the back of the football tickets you would buy, there'd be like coupons, like buy one, get one.
Right, sure.
So one day I went and bought 2 Big Macs, ate them before wrestling that night.
Oh, jeez.
That's the closest I've ever come to throwing up during a match. I still won, but that was the worst I've ever felt in the process. I felt like my stomach was tying itself in knots.
You ate 2 Big Macs.
2 Big Macs before wrestling.
How many hours?
That was probably about 3:30, and I was wrestling by 5:36. So they're about 2.5 hours.
Dude, 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, a sesame seed bun is still rolling around in your gut.
I didn't think that one through too much.
Yeah.
I still won.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you are losing, you know what can change a match? Barfing on a guy.
Oh, it throws the match out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd just be like null.
Changes everything.
Yeah. So I didn't have to go that far.
I will tell you this.
I felt like I was dying.
I have some buds of mine who wrestled back in the day. All I'm going to say, and we're going to stop, we can't go any farther. I do not want to participate in any sport where there is something called checking your oil to win.
Now, see, that's not a common thing. I know what you're talking about. There was a school near us that was rumored to do that a lot. I never saw it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Once I heard
That's how
about
you get
that.
punched in the face.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I would get disqualified. I'd be DQ'd. There is no doubt I would not be DQ'd. So you never
I
had
never
that happen?
saw it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So it would never happen in any matches you were ever a part of?
Never happened in any matches I was part of.
I want to go put you on the spot and say, you ever did that to win a match?
No, I have not. Have I done some nefarious things that were maybe outside of the rules? Absolutely. Because what the referee doesn't see, it's not against the rules.
Hit him with a chair?
Do you know what the DDT is in professional wrestling? You
Sure.
just basically drive someone's face into the
Yeah, I
mat.
remember that.
I kind of would do that. If somebody would shoot into me, I kind of pinch their face and fall backwards.
Nice.
So kind of like a DDT. And, they come up, they're kind of dazed, and boom,
Boom.
now you got the advantage.
Nice.
So
Look at
again,
you.
it's not outside the rules.
No, there's nothing in the rule book that says you can't
I
do
never
it.
got disqualified for anything.
Now, is there anything about checking the oil in the rule book?
I don't believe so.
See, it's not illegal.
It's not illegal. You get some funny looks, and
Get you killed.
the coach on the other team's not going to want to shake your hands afterwards.
No one's going to want to shake your hand. All right, what's trying to get to is sponsored by Tristan's Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. And again, if you want to jump in on Charwood and our spring golf class, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have a good time. 803-755-2000. Please give those folks at Charwood a call and set up your foursome. All right. And we will have another chance for you to win get two teams in our bracket contest between now and 3 o'clock. So be ready for that as well. All right, what's trending? Obviously, USC Pro Day was today. We'll see how that does, who that can help. Regarding the draft process, we have kind of gone back and forth on this all day about. I think a guy like Kyle Kennard, he's kind of fallen back in this thing. You're saying, but Terry, he hasn't played a game in months. I know, but that's the way this process goes. It'd be good for Kyle Kennard to have a good pro day. That would be nice. Rocket Sanders, for an example. Be good for him to have a pro day. I think Rocket Sanders is a guy that I could see getting picked 7th round, 6th round tops. Injury issues have been a thing with Rocket Sanders. He's a guy, look, he breaks a lot of tackles. Once he breaks a second level, for a guy that size, he's got some good speed. But there are injuries, and he initiates and gets a lot of contact. But he could be a guy, if he can have a good pro day, might help him out a little bit. So there are guys in this whole process that can help themselves today. And that's going on, and Tyler West and Chris were out there today, and Jack Veltri and a cast of billions, and Cloninger was there, and Kevin Miller from Gamecock Central.
Steve Smith was there.
Yes. And everybody pretty much had the same line when they first saw Steve Smith. Don't bring up his personal life. Don't bring up the wife or the mistress.
He was shorter than I thought he was going to be.
He's a short dude.
Yeah, he's kind of a short guy.
Fiery.
Oh, hey, he can rip your arms off, I'm sure.
Obviously, a lot of other descriptive words we could use right now that we really shouldn't. But yeah, Steve Smith. And it was funny. Everybody thought the same thing.
Oh,
That's what was hilarious,
well,
right?
At first, because where he was in reference to us, he was kind of standing to the side, so you can see half of his face. And Wes is like, "Is that Steve Smith?" I'm like trying to look because he's kind of like looking off to the side. I'm like, "It sure looks like him from the side." I'm like 85% sure. And then y'all were standing there like, "Oh no, it's really him."
Yep, that's Steve Smith. And everybody laughed with as soon as is that Steve Smith? Yeah. Everybody went.
We all know why. If you don't know, Google it.
Yeah, you just Google. Very simple. A lot of all the teams are represented, I think. And also, you guys got to talk to Clayton White.
Yep.
Near the end of the show. I thought it was interesting him talking about him feeling like he's a basketball coach.
I get it.
Yeah.
Because again, all your stars are gone, and hey, here comes this new crop of unproven guys, either via high school or by the transfer portal. And again, a lot of those guys very highly touted, 4 and 5 stars, all that kind of stuff. And okay, now it's on you to make this as good as it was last year.
It truly is very interesting this year. Look, it's always on the player more than anybody because the player has to respond to whatever coaching or whatever motivation. But this coaching staff, I mean, you've really got to develop players this year. Not to say you didn't last year, but I mean, last year you had some finished products that showed up last year.
Or almost finished, guys that had proven themselves at other places. Now, again, you got more out of those guys here, for the most part.
And that's to credit to you as a coaching staff.
That is. You took those guys to a different level, and that's why, a lot of those guys are going to be able to get their names called pretty early on in the NFL draft. But they had the exact opposite. A lot of potential, a lot of guys with high ceilings, but you just don't know.
It's your job to get them to that ceiling, to have their head hit the ceiling.
Yeah.
And that's what this year is going to be about, whether it's the guys already in your program or the guys you're bringing in.
Let's just go off the law of averages. Out of all the guys in the transfer portal, probably a handful of them are probably going to exceed expectations. It's probably going to be a handful that don't.
Yeah.
That don't get to where we thought they were going to be or come anywhere close. That's just how this usually goes.
Well,
Who
you
those
think
guys are, we don't know.
Because even last year, for as good as this went last year in the portal with Rocket Sanders and Kyle Kennard and Demetrius Knight, now, I mean, that's home run, home run, home run. Jaylen Brown was hurt. Didn't really, because of injuries and really being used differently than he was used at Coastal, didn't really give you eye-popping numbers. Delvin Campbell, you forgot he was a wide receiver till the end of the year when all of a sudden he made some
started
big
making
plays.
Yeah.
Gage Larvidan, just every now and then there was a peep of something, but he didn't give you consistent production. You had, so it wasn't a home run for everybody, but because like you said, if you bring in enough portal guys, some guys are going to be wow, some guys are not going to be wow. This year it's going to be the same thing. You hope you have more wows than not wows, obviously, but you're not going to bat 1,000. You're just not.
Yep.
So we'll see where all that goes. But yes, this year different than last year. All right, Shane Beamer, let's grab another cut from Shane. This is a thing. Brand new long snapper, brand new field goal kicker, brand new punter. Here's Shane, cut two, Tyler, talking about the specialist competition battles on this football team. Especially you haven't had to worry about punter and long snapper for a long time. Hit it.
Yeah, that's a situation for my first time as head coach. You don't know really, you don't have a returning guy as a kicker, punter, and long snapper and holder as well. So when you talk about, I've been fortunate. Kai's been our punter, I guess, every year that I've been the head coach, and Hunter has, essentially been the snapper, and Kai holding as well. So it's scary. It's exciting as well. But as far as candidates, you guys can look at the roster and see who's there. They're all competing, and eager to get those guys out there and put them in some, pressure situations as well to see how they respond as well. At long snapper, at kicker, at holder, and punter. And then you talk about, in the return game also, we need to get better in the return game. So Juju did most of that for us last year. So we're going to have a new, punt returner and kickoff returner this year as well. So there's a lot of things that we got to figure out, and eager to get going on it.
Yeah, a lot of new in those positions where you only really talk about them if they're screwing up. Let's be real. Like long snapper, you never bring them up if they're doing well.
No.
You're just not. Holder, don't care as long as they're doing their job. Even really punter and field goal kicker.
Till they start missing.
Yeah, if they start missing, you start talking about where they start shanking punts.
Kai was banging punts off the ceiling when we got in there, and they were like just the specialists out there. I think he was showing off because it was like a little arc in the ceiling. He just boom, punt after punt after punt.
It's so strange. Remember, he had an off year in 2023.
Off.
And it was all, he's holding the ball different or this or that.
He said his elbow.
Elbow,
the way
remember
it was
that?
Positioned.
And then he got back to himself last year and he was so good. I mean, winning the field position battle for South Carolina, just big punts and big moments. And that it's important. Field position, you don't think about it in a game until you
don't have it.
Don't have it.
So,
and all of a sudden,
that punt went 15 yards. They're starting at the 45.
Right. When you're losing the field position battle, all of a sudden you go, you know what? Field position's kind of a thing. So Kyle Kroger will be missed. Alex Herrera the kicks he did miss were unfortunately important kicks. They were kicks that stick in your brain, right?
Sure.
They just were. And, Mitch Jeter was good. And now you're looking to replace them all again. All right, we'll continue. What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. The NIT, it just keeps getting better. We'll talk about that next here on The Game. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions here on the Game Halftime Show. Tyler Head, Terry Ford. Well, let Dave just escape early. Get back in here tomorrow.
Big day tomorrow.
That's right. He's got to stretch properly. He's got to rest. Get some of that like relaxation music off of YouTube.
Sure.
Hey Siri, play me some relaxation music.
You can go to, it's like a log on the TV. It's like 8 hours long.
It's like Christmas, like that Christmas thing. So we got Dave a little time to get himself prepared, focus. He can sit with his legs crossed, burn some incense.
A darkness retreat. That's what he needs.
That's right, just like Aaron Rodgers.
Apparently Hurley does that too at UConn. He has to go in like a dark room and like decompress after games.
No, they throw him in a dark room because no one likes him.
With a straight jacket on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No one likes him. He's an intense cat. Just like Aaron Rodgers. The intensity level of both of those guys is so close. All right, what's trending at 2 real quick. Tankathon put out their latest NFL mock draft. Nick Emanwari, according to this mock draft, will go number 13 to Miami. Probably be the first safety off the board in that situation ahead of Malachi Starks of Georgia. Back end of the second round, Tankathon has T.J. Sanders, defensive lineman, South Carolina, going off the board 59 to the Baltimore Ravens. Kyle Kennard would go 75th, which is third round, mid-third round, to the 49ers. Demetrius Knight would land late third round to Tampa Bay at 84.
Okay.
That's Tankathon. So, yeah, I mean, nothing's a shock there. Seeing Emanwari go in the first round, mid-first round, that would be, higher than he's been projected. But again, that could end up being the case the way Emanwari has handled the draft silly season. Seeing Sanders go in the second round wouldn't be a shock. Kennard, third round, not a shock. Nor seeing Demetrius Knight go third round. So that's Tankathon.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, that's Tankathon for the South Carolina Gamecocks in the upcoming draft. All right, Paul Mainieri, South Carolina baseball coach, talking yesterday to the media ahead of tonight's game against College of Charleston. Again, 6:15 pregame, 6:30 first pitch here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and our sister station 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Mainieri brought up, look, South Carolina has played against 2 programs that are ranked in Clemson and Oklahoma, and they've gone 1-5. Should be 2-4, but it's 1-5. Here's what Paul Mainieri said, talking about the challenge that this baseball team is looking at after really going through a rough patch against 2 ranked teams.
Well, it's certainly a challenge, but I've always said this is when a coach earns his paycheck. It's really easy to coach teams when they're playing great and winning a lot of games and so forth, but when they suffer disappointments like last night or yesterday afternoon was for us, to try to keep them with a positive frame of mind and a love of the game and passion for the game and energy and, enthusiasm to play the next game. It takes quite an effort, and, unfortunately I've suffered a lot of losses in my career, so I've had a lot of practice at it. But, yesterday was really such a disappointment. We had a chance to win the series. I thought our team played really outstanding baseball all weekend. Even the first night, even though we lost, I thought our kids didn't back down against, really one of the best pitchers in the whole country. And we were down 7-1, and we fought back, and we were within a swing of tying the game. And, we just battled right to the very end. I was really proud of the guys, and I knew that we would play well the next day, and we did. And we went out there and we won a big ball game. We out-hit the Oklahoma team the first night, and, of course, we out-hit them the second night. And so, the third day is, the rubber match of a game. And, somehow we got through. Dylan, he walked 4 and hit 1, but somehow he got through 4 in the third innings, and he, held them to nothing. I don't think we gave up more than 1 hit in the first 5 or 6 innings. And we had opportunities to kind of break the game open, and we didn't, take advantage of those opportunities.
Look, Coach Mainieri's right. This is what you get paid the big bucks for. when things are, you get things straightened up, things aren't good. That's when that's when you really earn your keep. I've said this all the time. It's easy, like leadership. It's easy to be a winner when everything's going well, right? Easy to be a leader. Easy to be a leader when everything's going your way. What do you do as a leader when things are in the crapper? What do you do as a coach? How do you fix it? How do you carry yourself? What kind of culture are you continuing to foster and build despite going through the bad times? How you handle it is huge, gigantic. And that's what Paul Mainieri's talking about. And again, I totally agree. We need to step up as a coach. Look, you've gone 1-5 in big games. Your team's going to look to you to lead the way, and you got to be able to. And again, Mainieri's been through a ton of this. Obviously, in his first rodeo, and he'll be able to handle it, set the tone. How are we going to fix it? How are we going to get better? We got to grind. Here's how we're going to, deal with the situation. So good stuff there from Paul Mainieri. And obviously tonight, 6:15 pregame, 6:30 first pitch here on the game in Columbia and also our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. The NIT, the fun just keeps going, man. South Alabama, their head coach, not very happy. Richie Riley says what the NIT did to South Alabama is unacceptable. Riley told AL.com he was informed late Sunday evening that his team, South Alabama, had been invited to the NIT because UC Riverside declined its invitation due to a previous commitment to play in the CBI. You're saying, what the heck's a CBI? The College Basketball Invitational, which should be let's be honest, it's NCAA tournament is number one, and number two is who cares? Let's just be real. But if you're ranking these things because you have to, it would be NCAA tournament, NIT, then you would get the CBI or whatever else after NIT. But UC Riverside had already committed to the CBI, so they couldn't take the NIT bid. So South Alabama was extended an offer to play in the NIT. So the coach Riley continues on, quote, I tell Sunbelt Conference Commissioner Keith Gill and NCAA Senior Vice President of Basketball Dan Gavitt, I'm going to tell my guys, the players. They're like, go ahead. So I tell the team. Then Gill and Gavitt call back, whatever time it was, 10:45, 11 o'clock. Dan's like, no, UC Riverside is back in. I hate that we have to do this. The coach, Coach Riley, snaps back. This is unacceptable. You can't do that. The NIT and the Sunbelt Conference called South Alabama's invitation premature in statements released Monday and apologized to the program. I mean, this is just a cluster. I guess here's the way I would look at this. I'm not the commissioner of anything. If UC Riverside told you that they could not accept the NIT bid because they have a commitment to another tournament, you say, okay. Then you offer to South Alabama. Now, if UC Riverside comes back to you and says, we got out of the CBI, you say this, and this is not difficult. Ready? Too late. Sorry. We've already given your bid away because you told us you couldn't play in our tournament. Unless there's something here that I'm not seeing, or unless there's something written down in some kind of agreement that legally says if UC Riverside gets out of another agreement, they have to go back in the tournament. If it's as simple as UC Riverside said they're out, then they're out, and they can't get back in, and you should have never screwed over South Alabama. Once again, nice job. Nice job, NIT. All right, Greatest Day in the History of the World is next. We talk all the time about how awesome and wonderful that the Nest is. a Krager company in the Vista on Gadsden because they're phenomenal. I mean, we've had folks here who have used the Nest. I run into people who will say, "Oh yeah, Terry, you talk about that Nest all the time. I use those people. They're great." Because you know what they do? They're experts. They hire the best people who know the product. They don't just hire somebody so they can pay them on the cheap and say, "Hey, just talk about everything." Well, I don't know anything. Don't worry about it. Go watch YouTube and get a tutorial. No, these are folks who have been dealing with appliances and bathrooms and lighting and fixture for years and years and years, 70 years of combined experience at the Nest. You call, tell them what you want to look to do, tell them your budget, your dreams, your goals, your vision. They'll bring you in, have an appointment, show you around the showroom, and make it happen because they know what they're doing. Again, 803-978-2025. Give those folks a call at the Nest in the Vista. Halftime show. Greatest day in the history of the world, which today is March 18th. Tyler Head, Terry Ford, we're hanging here till 3 on the game. All right. A couple old school. This day in 1945, Maurice Rocket Richard, remember he got suspended yesterday in history.
Right.
And everybody in Montreal flipped out and they looted and rioted.
In the streets.
Went crazy.
Politely rioted in the streets.
Of course, because it's Canada. Richard becomes the first NHL player to score 50 goals in a season this day in 1945.
Now, what was the year they got suspended?
Was it?
Was that after?
Yeah, it was after.
Okay. So, yeah.
That's why, man.
Had a good track record after that point.
I mean, it's worth looting a store, rioting, burning stuff.
Or you got to politely ask the store owner, hey, mind if we ruffle things up in here a bit? We are quite upset.
Yeah, mind if we grab some TVs and bust out some windows?
Yeah, go right ahead.
What? Richard was suspended? Feel free to bust up my store.
No, the store owner was in there with him.
Busted up his own store. All right, this day in 1950, CCNY beats Bradley 69-61 for the NIT championship.
Back when that meant something.
By the way, so I looked this up just to be exact. Because in my lifetime, the NIT's never mattered.
Sure.
Just hasn't. So I decided, let's Google. Let's do some Googleizing. Early 1950s is when really the NCAA started to pass the NIT. The NCAA in the early 50s began a slow progression of minimizing the NIT's prestige by making it mandatory for winners of the top 10 conferences to participate in the NCAA tournament and not the NIT. In addition, the NCAA began to expand their field first to 16 teams from 8 and then to 22 whole teams. How about that?
I think the NIT has a legal case for limiting or something involving antitrust for doing that. Where again, because again, the NCAA, they just make rules out of nowhere and you got to follow them, or at least so we thought. So yeah, all right, you won your conference, you got to come play in our tournament instead.
Well, you can't play. Yeah, you're limiting me. What if the NIT offered me something
the
more?
Earning potential of an entire tournament.
There you go.
But yeah, you got it. There's, I'm sure, however many billions of dollars in back pay.
The NCAA is just lawbreakers, man.
You think they sat around in a room like, what if we just came up with this rule? I know. What if we just came up with it and they have to do it? Or they think they got to do it.
And here's the thing. No one in that room is probably going, excuse me a minute. They might be breaking antitrust laws.
They probably haven't heard of antitrust laws until a couple years ago.
No idea.
We're breaking what?
What's an antitrust law?
Well,
who's Sherman?
They look around each other. I trust you and you trust me. We're good, right?
We're good. Isn't Sherman that cartoon character? Remember Sherman?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not that Sherman.
The guy from the March to the Sea? That guy? Different guy.
Sherman Hemsley. So the NIT, it started in the early 50s when they started to take off. Of course, CCNY, this is back in the 50s. City College of New York was actually a really good basketball program.
Okay. That sounds like a 16 seed now.
Yeah, in Division III.
All right. Kentucky's going to take on CCNY.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were a thing back in the 50s. All right, also greatest day in the history of the world. This day in 1990, Jeff Fryer scored 41 points. Loyola Marymount beats defending national champion Michigan 149-115. Highest scoring game in NCAA tournament history. Loyola Marymount was fun to watch, man. They played a super high, fast tempo, just gunning shots. They were fun. Paul Westhead was their head coach. Bo Kimball, late Hank Gathers, Jeff Fryer. Loyola Marymount was a thing, man, for just a small period of time, but it was really cool. This day in 1993, I remember this. Arizona was a 2 seed. Santa Clara was a 15 seed. Santa Clara beats Arizona 64-61, the second 15 seed to win a first-round game. I don't know if it was the first, but also in that time, Syracuse was a 2. I believe Richmond was a 15, and Richmond beat Syracuse. Dick Tarrant, I think, was the head coach of Richmond at the time. 1995, Michael Jordan ends his 17-month NBA retirement, and of course he became a co-owner, general manager, and everything of the Wizards, and drafted Kwame Brown, number 1, and didn't take Pau Gasol. How'd that turn out?
Well, he's good on the court.
Yes. As a GM, yeah. As an owner, yeah.
What was it? How many years ago was it that he sold his stake with Charlotte?
A couple years ago.
A couple years ago.
Which, by the way, no one's really unhappy.
No, that's the thing is like, again, look, you can't be great at everything,
No.
right? Amazing on the court. When it comes to some of the stuff off the court and ownership and managing, maybe not the best, which it's so funny because we see this so consistently. God, it took the Broncos forever to figure out how to find a quarterback, and John Elway was the guy leading the search. You know what I mean? Like, just because you're a great player doesn't mean you can find the talent or put the talent in place to make your team great after the fact.
I always say this, just because you are a great player doesn't mean you can be a great coach, great GM, great executive, whatever. And you just had a couple of great examples. I mean, for the guys who are good, Bill Belichick's greatest coach in history of the NFL. That was a heck of an NFL career Bill Belichick had.
Yeah.
How about this one?
Did he even play college football?
I think he played a little bit of,
But
division something, maybe.
most of the most successful coaches are guys that weren't really that
Nick
great at players.
Saban, great NFL career, great college career.
Sure. You know?
I mean, we just do it all the time. We always say, well, if you played, you know. No. Some guys are just great. And you say, how are you great? I'm just great,
You know what?
man.
Some of those guys, they spend a lot of time on the sidelines,
Yeah.
which helps them kind of get the ball rolling on coaching.
You learn how to coach because you're not getting in the game.
Exactly.
I always love and not all. Some players are good and they're very cerebral, but sometimes if you're not playing a lot, a coach will look at you and go, "You ever thought about coaching?"
Yeah. Again,
Translation.
You're already holding the clipboard or wearing the headset anyway, so you're kind of getting a jump on
You're
it.
not going to be playing. You might as well learn how to coach.
Like, hey, NFL's not your future, but we can bring you on as a grad assistant.
There you go. Well, the other thing too, Michael Jordan, when he announced, he was not going to retire, there are people that are like, "Oh man, you're ruining your legacy." No, you're not.
Do we
You
ever
don't
talk
ruin a
about that part of his
legacy.
legacy?
We don't ruin
Do
a
we,
legacy.
do we talk about anything outside of his time on the Bulls?
No.
No.
Nobody cares about his time with the Wizards.
Every now and then you'll get a picture of him in a Wizards jersey. Like, this was weird, right? But then we just go right back to thinking about him as a Bull.
No, Aaron Rodgers isn't ruining his legacy. Michael Jordan didn't ruin his legacy. Emmitt Smith didn't ruin his legacy playing with the Cardinals. Look, right now, Aaron Rodgers looks like a goober, right?
Sure.
He looks like this guy. All of a sudden, he's become this locker room cancer and all these other things. You can't take away the MVPs. You can't take away the Super Bowl ring. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. You don't ruin a legacy at the end. You just don't.
These are fun trivia questions for years down the line.
Yes.
Hey, what team did Aaron Rodgers play with after the Packers? Oh, the Jets. That's right. That was weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, people forget Joe Namath played for the Rams. Johnny Unitas played for the Chargers.
Eric Dickerson
Franco
played
Harris.
for the Falcons.
Yes. You remember that.
I don't remember it,
You
but I
heard
know
of it,
about it.
right.
I was not alive then.
Franco Harris played for the Seahawks. Jerry Rice played for the Raiders and the Seahawks. Joe Montana played for the Chiefs. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on. And we've forgotten all of it.
Yep. Because we don't show those highlights.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We just want to. That's out of our head. The end of your career typically doesn't ruin your legacy. It just doesn't. But this day, Jordan came back. All right, we have a couple more teams to give away. Let's get
Yes.
rid of them, Tyler Head.
We're going to text or phone.
Let's go phone this time.
All right. Callers number
803-404-6100. Caller number 6 and 8 right now. Each get a team in our bracket contest. Again, we're going to give out 68 teams. It's by random. You might get a really good one, or you might get stuck with a 16 seed. Good news is it costs you nothing but a phone call. Whoever has the team that wins a national championship will get Gamecock baseball season tickets for the rest of the year. I can't hear you, sir.
There's a really good one I'm about to give away, by the way.
All right, 803-404-6100, caller number 6. Caller number 8, give us a ring right now. We will hit our Firehouse up, text the hour at 803-404-6100. Also, the handoff to our buddies on the post-game show that is next, right here on the halftime show on the game. All right. Firehouse Sub text the hour, and also our handoff to our buddy Jay Phillips for the postgame show, sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine. Firehouse Sub text the hour, 803-404-6100. What do you got, man?
Okay, so going back to our conversation once again about typecast actors. Nameless Texter says Costanza was the bad guy in Pretty Woman, but I think that kind of proves the point. You didn't call him Jason Alexander. You said Costanza. So you
called him
look at him
Costanza.
as Costanza.
Because that's the thing. When you watch Pretty Woman, like now you turn on the TV and Pretty Woman pops up, right?
Yeah, they play it on TBS like every other day.
Hey, you don't say there's Jason Alexander. What do you
There's George
say?
Costanza.
There's George Costanza.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I gotta tell you all this. So this was years ago. My mother, again, rest in peace, who's been gone now for 12 years. But we were at the beach maybe 20 years ago with her. All right, just some random afternoon, and Seinfeld reruns on all the time, right?
Sure.
Okay, so just sitting on the couch at the beach, like after a day out there, or whatever. Seinfeld's on. My mom. Oh, that's the guy from Pretty Woman. She'd never seen Seinfeld.
No. Are
She
you
doesn't.
serious?
I think the last sitcom that my mom watched was like All in the Family, right? Like
Wow,
my mom
okay.
just didn't watch.
She might be the one person that would have identified him that way.
one person.
And
That's so
I remember
funny.
Sonny and I looking at her, we're like.
That is
That's
hilarious.
just like, Mom, this show ran for like 10 years and won all kinds. And he won didn't he win like 3 or 4 Emmys?
And again,
Yeah.
he's always going to be seen that way.
Except for
Except
Jay's
for
mom.
my mom. Again, rest in peace. But she did. She was like, "Oh, that's the guy from Pretty Woman."
That is hilarious.
And Sonny and I just laughed. I just thought it was great.
That is
and I was
so
like,
funny.
but she didn't know. I mean, listen, my mom could laugh and she liked funny things. Like, I'll tell you, one of my mom's favorite movies was Coming to America. She would just
Oh,
laugh. I mean,
really?
we all
Coming
did,
to
right?
America's
But she
phenomenal. Yeah.
But she was more, comedy was not really my mom's bag.
right.
I mean, she enjoyed laughter, but she didn't watch sitcoms,
right.
or things like that. But she had probably seen Pretty Woman. I don't know. I mean, 'cause she's like anybody else, right? I guess she
so
likes
funny, man.
likes her rom-coms.
That's so good.
But she's so, and at first, it's one of those things, and you're like, is she? Oh yeah, she's serious. Like right away, I knew. Like just for a second, you're like,
Yeah.
But like, she didn't know what Seinfeld was. She'd never
That's
seen it.
Phenomenal.
So maybe she had seen a promo for it on the Today Show or something on NBC back in the 90s. I don't know. But
Hey, we were talking about the typecast. We started off because Urkel was hosting a game show.
okay,
Because somebody has Fox 57 on in here for some reason.
it's got to be gone.
And I looked, it has to be Gunner. He's probably watching some soaps or some,
By the way, do you know Urkel's real name?
I couldn't remember.
No.
Jaleel White.
Okay.
we were
he
sitting-
wasn't
But see, proves the point.
Yeah, he wasn't even supposed to be a focal point on that
He
sitcom.
was
No, he
supposed to be a one episode,
Yeah.
Yep.
like side character.
Like nerdy
and he
neighbor. that
took
you-
the entire show
Yeah.
over.
well, that's what happens. Like, the Fonz character
Right.
wasn't supposed to be what it ended up on Happy Days either.
Right.
Remember, he was wearing a blue jacket in the first season. He wasn't wearing the leather because he was just a minor character, and he became a major thing.
I've heard Ron Howard talk about like how that all took off and how they all were like, "Hey, let it happen. Let's go."
Yeah, it's going well. It's going good, man. There's another character from another show. I'm trying to think of who it was. They were supposed to kill that character off like early in the first season, but the character gained so much traction that I can't think of the show now. They decided, no, we're keeping the character. We're not killing this character off. I can't remember. I don't know if it was Homeland or what it was. But there was some show where there was a character that was just to be a minor character and blew up to be a major character, and they said, no, we can't kill the
Sometimes
character
it
off.
happens that way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We were doing the typecasting. We brought up Kramer first before George Costanza.
Yeah.
Anywhere our boy Michael Richards, that's it. Michael Richards goes, he's Kramer.
Well, he was. Did y'all ever see? Was it UHF with Weird Al?
Yep.
Yeah, he was basically Kramer.
Yeah, he's Kramer.
And that was before Kramer.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they probably said like, "Hey, remember that guy with Weird Al? Mm-hmm. Let's just have him be their neighbor." And that worked.
He ended up being Kramer from that. So,
That's good.
anyway, all right, we got coming up on the postgame show, sir.
Connors coming up. Mike Yuba on Pro Day. And will this be the last year of 68 schools in the NCAA tournament?
Probably yes.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss.
Nice. Postgame show with Jay and Elijah coming up. Tyler, nice work. David, Aaron, nice job. We'll do it again tomorrow.